Hi, my name is Lua Bikoe. I'm a DevOps engineer. I'll be taking you through the journey of AWS. Today we'll be looking at identity and access management, popularly called IAM, and I'm sure you'll be having a swell time. Thank you.
All right, identity and access management. IAM. What is IAM? IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. It's a service in AWS that helps you securely control access to your resources. In simple terms, identity, who are you? User, app, service, connector, device. Access management, what can you do? Read, write, delete, controls around the resources. So now this diagram just clearly explains the two differentiation or the two components that makes up the AWS Identity Access Management System. Identities, who is making the request? Is it a user? Is it a group? Is it role or credentials? Now the other part speaks to permission. What's requested? What is the identity requesting for? What policies are in place? What are exactly are the statements that has been written to ensure that this user gets the resources that he needs? Now IAM basics. The concept around IAM is distributed around these components: users, groups, roles, policies, permissions, multi-factor authentication, and access key. Users, these are the individual accounts for people, whether it's an admin or a developer or a person, Lu, Sheung, Shokpe, Ademide, as the case may be. Groups, collection of users, so you can attach permissions to a group instead of an individual. So you can create a group, add users to this group, and now attach a policy or permissions to that group. So these permissions that are assigned to the group would affect all the users. Now roles, similar to users, but roles are assumed by users, applications, or services. Roles are temporary identities. Policies, rules written in JSON that defines permission, what actions are allowed or denied. So policies are attached to users, groups, or roles. Permissions control what resources a user, group, or role can access and what actions they can perform. So in terms of permission, what resources are you giving this user permissions to access? So multi-factor authentication, these are very important. This is very important rather. This is where you set another level of security using a second device, whether it's a hardware token or a mobile phone. In this case, we'll be using a mobile phone. We'll install Google Authenticator, where you'll be generating tokens anytime you want to log in to your root account. Access keys, these are keys that are given to developers used to access certain resources within your AWS account. These are called AWS CLI. That way you have users access certain resources without having access to your console. So why is IAM important? It protects AWS environment from unauthorized access. It helps enforce the principle of least privilege. Users get only permissions they need. So what this means is you give access to only the resources or only the component that a user needs. It's essential to maintaining security and compliance in your cloud infrastructure. Now looking at this diagram, it just explains better what we've been trying to say. Now IAM identity, you are either giving permissions or creating policies for a user. You could create groups. So these are different groups: admins, developers, DevOps. And under admin you have Bill. Under developers you have Steve, Sock, Jeff. Under DevOps you have Elon, you have Jack. And you can create a role and give permissions to an app under that role. So what this means is by the time I create permissions, I can create permissions for admin. So every Bill would have access to those permissions. We can also tie a user, for instance Steve can be added to the group. Developers can also be added to the group admins. This just means that Steve would have access to all the permissions that are tied to these different groups. So now what we'll be trying in this session is to enable multi-factor authentication for added security. So our root account in AWS will create a MFA for it. We'll create a user called admin user. We'll attach a policy that says admin user can read and write to an S3 bucket. We'll create a user group called DevOps. We attach policies to that group. We create another user called Lu Abikoye. We add admin user and Lu Abikoye to the DevOps group. Pretty much this is what we've been able to. Okay then, when you're logged into your AWS account, you have a screen similar to this. This is the dashboard that just shows your major resources on the EC2 environment. Looking at the top right corner, you see where you have your username, You click here and go to security credentials. Okay, under security credentials, you see where you assign MFA. At this point, I expect you to have downloaded Google Authenticator. The app looks similar to this. What you'll be doing on the app is to add your AWS account to the Google Authenticator. That way you'll be able to generate tokens anytime you want to connect. So mine is just having multiple AWS account. My GitHub is also tied to this Google Authenticator. All you just need to do is to click on the plus sign, then you see where you have scan a QR code. Now what you'll be doing with the QR code is on the screen where the AWS device is to be added, the MFA device is to be added on the AWS account. You just give it a name. So here I call it my AWS, or rather my DevOps device. I come down, select Authenticator app because I want to choose Google Authenticator, and the next step is to click next. Here I'll be scanning the QR code on my screen. So I have my device right in front of this screen, and I am adding this to my Google Authenticator. So I'm expected to enter the first number that was generated for me in the first tab, and immediately the second number. You have to wait a few seconds for it to generate another number. That way you're sure you're entering the right number. So here on my screen you can see that it says an MFA has been assigned to my device. So what I'll be doing now is to log out and sign in again, and you see where it will ask you for the authentication to get in. Alright, I'm logged out right about now, so I want to sign in again to the same account. Remember, you're signing in with your root AWS account. I have my username right there, and it takes me straight to my password. So I already have my password saved on screen, and the next thing is asking me for my MFA code. So I go straight up to my phone, click on Google Authenticator, and enter the token number that has just been generated for me, and voila, I'm into my AWS account. So now I'll be going straight to the IAM. So on your search bar here, you type IAM, click on the first option that manages access to AWS resources. Okay, very important. What we'll be doing first is to create another account, and this account will be given the full administrator right. Alright, so one of the things we're trying to achieve here is to first create an administrator account. So this account is what you'll be using to manage your AWS account on a daily basis. Your root account, which you used in setting up your AWS account, is highly recommended not to use that on a daily basis. So that's why you created an MFA. That's why you enabled MFA for that account, such that you don't have to compromise that account. So we'll create an account now that will have full administrator rights, and this is the account we'll log in with to manage our AWS resources moving forward. So I want to create an account, Lou. I'll provide user access. So I want this account to have access to the management console, and that is why I have checked this button. Please stick to I want to create an IAM user. Then I set a custom password. So here I want to set a password to that my account. I don't want to create a new password when signing in, and because I'll be the one using this account. And then immediately the first thing you do is to attach policies to this account. Now I'll attach policies. So the only policy I want to attach is administrator rights. So this policy gives you full access and control to all the administrative privileges on this AWS account. So I just go next and I create that user. So now this, I can email instruction to the user that I created this account for. This is the unique URL to that account, and I can decide to show password for this account if I need to be sure of the password that I had set for this user. So I go back and return to users. So that's it for creating an account for a user. However, we're just creating an administrative access to this. So I'll log out now and sign in with that account. Moving forward, that's the account I'll be using to manage every other account and resources on my AWS. Okay, I'm signed out now. The URL that was provided during creation would have been emailed to the user, so it means that for easy access to that sub account on AWS, this is the URL I'll be using. I can bookmark it, I can save this account ID somewhere. So I just enter my new username and password and I move on. So based on our hands-on, I've enabled MFA for added security to the root account. So we want to create a user called admin user, attach a policy that says the admin user can read and write to an S3 bucket. So here I go back to my IAM, I can either search at the top. These are recently visited resources on AWS. Alright, so I'll create a user by clicking on users. Just the same process pretty much. Create a user. I'll give a username. I call it admin user. I provide user access to the AWS management console. Here I can leave it at auto generated, so it means that the user will be emailed the generated password, and I can leave the option that says the user should change his password once he creates a new account. Now I come to attach policies, and as against what I had done earlier where I gave the full administrator access to that user, this time I type S3. So you'll be understanding what this S3 means, but however, let's just say we want to give this user the read and write permission, so I can say S3 full access. So that's more or less like a read and write permission. Then I go next and create user. It gives me so I can email the instruction to the user. So that's you just pretty much creating a user under this AWS account. I just move on. So he expects me to download the credentials. Alright, the next thing now is I want to create a user group. So I create a group. I call this group developer, so I just call this group DevOps, and I assign policies to the group. So let's say I want this group to have access to Alexa for business gateway, and AI ops operator access, and AI ops read-only access, and I create this group. So what I've just done basically is to create a group and attach policies to that group. And subsequently, if I want to create a user, I can create a user and add the user to that group. So I'm creating another user called Lua Bikoye. I go ahead with the same process of allowing them to generate their password. User can create their own email on first login. And on this screen, all I just have to do is to attach policies directly or copy policies. So policies that have already been existing, I can just copy that policy. However, in this case, I'm leaving the default, which is add a user to group. So I select the group and I click next. So I'm attaching Lua Bikoye to the group that has to the group called DevOps, and this group has the user policy. So here I didn't mention earlier, you can either download these credentials as CSV. I can view these user credentials or email the signing credential, just like I mentioned earlier, to the user. So downloading it just gives me a CSV document that has all these credentials, and I can send that as a message to the user. So that's pretty much you adding a user, creating a user group, adding a user to the group. If I want to go back to the admin user, which is a user I first created and only has access to the S3 full write and read policy, I might want to add this user to the same group. While it has this permission, I can add the user to a group that has other permissions. So it just means that this user has his permission and has permissions that are attached to the group that I am adding him or her to. So this is adding the user to that group. So it just means that if I come back to this user permission, I can see the permissions that the admin user is attached to. So this is the group is attached to. These are the permissions that this user has. So pretty much that's it about managing users. We've been able to create user, attach policies to that user, create a user group, attach policies to the group, create another user, and add admin user and lower create to the developers group. Thank you very much for watching this video. I believe you can try this on your own. If you need to try it over and over again, you can always watch the video, and I'm sure you'll get it pretty quickly. Thank you very much.